Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wisdom Wednesdays. Nice to see everyone.
Hello, hello.
Nice to see you again, Priya. We haven't seen each other in a while. How are you doing? She might be frozen. All right, no worries. Maybe we'll get started with our icebreaker. Okay, I thought this was fun to maybe share if we were all working towards something or want to. So, what is a New Year's resolution or goal that you've been working on or want to start? Could be a hobby or it could also be something like I want to be learn how to be more patient or that's something I've been working on. Any of you want to share?
I know this one might be like really common, but something that I want to work on is my physical health. So it means like going to the gym. I was doing it last year. In fact, typically it's a goal that you start at the beginning of the year. Last year, I think maybe in August or so, I started going to the gym 3 times a week, and then at the end of the year came around, it faded. So I'm gonna try to start going again at least twice a week.
You got to put it on your calendar. Make an appointment for yourself.
Hmm. Yeah, I do that, and then work meetings get scheduled over it, and I'm like,
Block it off as busy.
yeah, I have to be a little bit more strict about it. I think it just comes down to prioritization and really putting your foot down that this is something I need to do. It's kind of like eating lunch, you eat lunch every day, so you got to do it. Thank you.
Mhm. I was gonna say the same thing. Yeah, I've been wanting to go to the gym more, but not just that because I do work out and I've been consistent with that, but I feel like I don't really like know how to lift weights and stuff, and that's just so overwhelming. But I feel like that's really important in today's world to have that strength aspect of working out. So that's something I've been working on. And another thing is just I've been trying new recipes to like cook. So I've been really into that.
So I have this way of keeping track of my day with like a jar and it has rocks, so I make sure I put the big rocks. I only have five. I used to have only four rocks. And since the year began, I added a fifth rock, which is writing. I'm writing a book on nonviolent communication and bhakti, how they interact and support each other. So that's my New Year's resolution is 30 minutes of writing each day added to the other four rocks, which is chanting and reading and exercise and rest, nap.
I really like how it's a physical. So you like when you complete the task, you
Yeah.
put the rock in the cup.
Exactly. So every night I take my rocks out and then every day the rocks go in. So I make sure my big rocks go in first because then otherwise all the pebbles in the sand fills up my jar. There's no time for those five important things.
Wow, I really like that. That's like so much better than
Oh
like
my
checking
God.
off a list. It's like a visual, physical. Oh, I really love that. I
I
might do
really
that.
want to do that. Now that you say it's so satisfying to put them in. Are they like actual rocks or like fake? I don't know if they make
I went
fake.
to Walmart and I bought the jar and I bought, in the decorative section, they have these rocks. And
Uh-huh.
so one rock says exercise, one rock says write, one rock says read, one rock says chant, and one rock says nap.
I love that. Having a nap rock would be really fun. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else wanna contribute before we move on? All right. Well, we'll come back also. Thank you everyone for sharing. It was really fun to be able to grow together as well. Can come back and talk about it more. But without further ado, I really want to introduce Sri Radhika back to our community. If you've been to one of our talks, you know this is going to be a really helpful and interactive session. It's just always so fun. I don't feel like doing anything else when I'm here. So So happy that you're here, Shiradika. For those of you who don't know her, she is a trained empathic communication trainer, and she's been studying nonviolent communication for a while. She's also a yoga teacher, and her husband and her really they spend their time teaching bhakti yoga to individuals in their community, to from universities to, different places. So she's been doing this for a while and is very, very helpful and skilled at this. So I'm just so excited to introduce her. And yeah, over to you.
Thank you. I teach best what I most desperately need to learn. So here I am, sharing from control to flow, meeting anger with compassion through nonviolent communication. So I want to share my personal orientation to this topic, to anchor myself. So I always considered myself and I labeled myself an angry person. Like that was my label for myself. And it was other people's label for me as well. I grew up in a very fiery home, and I knew how to assert my needs through expressing them with some amount of aggression. And um, had resolved, to do it differently in my life. I actually did not so much appreciate that kind of energy, but I considered or found myself pretty helpless, and I would just get consumed by anger. Um, and then I came across the teachings of Bhakti Yoga, and what to speak of what the conceptions I already had about how bad anger is. On top of it, the Bhagavad Gita says anger is one of the gates to hell. And then, spiritual people are supposed to be these Zen. Oh, I'm like, this is not making any sense. And then after many years of practicing or trying to practice Bhakti Yoga, I came across nonviolent communication in the year 2018. And it was immediately something that clicked. I was like, this is a piece of the puzzle that I have been waiting for all my life. It fit perfectly into my bhakti practice because it gave me some practical tools to control anger, be tolerant, and so forth. And this is an ongoing work. So I'm not going to say Krishna is very kind because he is such a loving master that he always reveals the stuff in our heart that we still need to address and work on to continue our journey to him. And so I often get reminded of this area that is still an area of work. So this is how I'm coming before you, not as an expert, as very much a learner, oriented to meeting anger with compassion through nonviolent communication. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Mamapetya punarjanma dukkhalayam ashashvatam napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gataha. So here in red, dukkhalayam. And the translation is full of miseries and ashashvatam, temporary. Right? So Krishna says, this material world is certified to be a place full of miseries. I don't know if you've noticed. I certainly have noticed. Yeah, they can be periods of smooth sailing and happiness, but they're always interspersed with some difficulties in my life and the lives of others. So it's a world that isn't designed to meet our needs. We expect and we would love for it to be this incredible hotel room that we see on the left, full of pleasures. But unfortunately, or fortunately for us, it was designed to be a hospital, a place of recovery. And one of these things that we need to recover from is our tendency to want to control and modify and manipulate this world to meet our needs. And when that doesn't happen, it produces anger. So I want to request, Priya, would you be willing to read this quote by Bhurijan Prabhu from the Japa book?
Yes. That what that w- no, no, sorry. That we have no control over our world, of course. Of course, great fear and frustration for us. Yes, this is how Krishna has constructed the universe. The universe simply refuses to cooperate with our false ego. It refuses to align ourselves with our visions of ourselves as the central figure in the world, or with our attempt to organize everything and everyone around our conception of happiness. The universe is designed to make us miserable so that we learn.
And I would love for our orientation to this to be one of understanding that this is not a punitive world designed to make us miserable so we learn to punish us. It's a very loving arrangement by the divine to correct some tendencies in our heart. So, one way when we come across frustration because our plans don't work out the way we would like them to is to what Brene Brown says here, discharge that pain and discomfort with blame. So, blame is simply a way to discharge that pain and discomfort, to turn it out. When our emotional world is alive, it can feel as if we must act urgently to bring relief to the fire within. We feel overwhelmed and we panic. From experience, we know that even this shall pass, but in the moment, the wave like intensity just sweeps us off our feet. So I was on a quest in my life as to, is there another way? Instead of turning this pain and discomfort out, is there another way to express it, to deal with it? And that is where I came across nonviolent communication, also known as empathic communication, created by Marshall Rosenberg, adapted for the teachings of Bhakti Yoga by Bir Krishna Goswami. Nonviolent communication gives us some alternative ways to navigate our human experience. So let's look at anger in particular. I love this image. You can just see, she's just holding that rolling pin in her hand, and it's just, I find it to be pretty adorable. And yet, when we are in the midst of anger, it's not a very pleasant emotion. However, nonviolent communication encourages us to think of anger as the check engine light on our dashboard. When that light goes on, we don't want to like break it out of existence. It has a very important message to convey to us. And in fact, if we do break it out of existence or, punch it out of existence, we might end up in a bigger problem. Further down the road, our car might catch fire. We might run out of many things, including oil and so forth, that are critical for the functioning of that vehicle. So we want to pay attention to the message that anger is communicating. We don't want to suppress it. We don't want to repress it. Suppression is when you know what you're feeling and you set it aside. It's like putting something in a drawer and saying, well, I'll deal with this later. Repression is when you don't know what you're feeling because your mind has hidden it from you. So it's like putting something in the basement and forgetting that it's there altogether. But it still very much exists in the house. So we want to stay away from either of those options, repression, suppression. So what is another alternative? Because we've already done or spoken and discussed about NVC a few times in this group, I think you might remember the whole concept of needs in NVC. NVC teaches us that behind every emotion, every feeling, there is a root need. You don't see it, it's under the ground. But when you find the root need, there is a solution to addressing the emotion, and it could be anger, that neither promotes violence nor suppression. So we've seen this before. in our Sangha where we have this beautiful tree on the left. It's full of green leaves because the root needs, there could be need for affection, shared reality, integrity are being met. And so we're feeling optimistic, tickled, happy. But it could also be that sometimes these needs are not being met. So the tree on the right that is barren doesn't have leaves. And then we could be feeling apathetic, detached, flustered. So I want to ask you if you would be willing to unmute yourself or put it in the chat, and Manya can read it for us. What is the feeling word that describes what is alive in you right now?
You say what is alive in you right now?
Yeah. What is a word that resonates for you? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling connected.
Hmm.
I feel fascinated.
Uh, wow, there's so many. I'm like having trouble picking one.
Yeah.
I was gonna say feeling restored, but at the same time feeling distressed.
Vita says in the chat, confusion of forward path, of next destination, meanwhile doing best to stay present.
Mhm. So I want to request you to next look at what the root need might be behind the feeling that you are feeling right now. So, as an example, um, I'm feeling lively right now because my need for contribution and community are met. It's such a joy to be able to contribute and connect with all of you. So, if you could look again at the tree and see the word that you picked to describe the feeling, what need is being met or not being met right now, which is producing that feeling.
I was thinking of need for wisdom and engagement because I picked fascinated.
So you're feeling fascinated because your need for wisdom, engagement, learning
Yeah.
are being met right now.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Oh, can I then, I think I misunderstood the first question. So I think I want to choose, I'm feeling at peace, feeling
Mhm.
peace. Because I mean, I'm interested in the subject matter, I'm learning, which makes me calm. And your voice makes me calm as well.
So learning and growth
Yes,
um, and peace is also a need. So those needs are alive for you right now. And so you're feeling very calm and you're at peace.
yes.
Thank you. Wondering, Ayan, if you would be willing to try what need is being met or not being met right now.
Yeah, so I said distressed earlier, so for that one, I think I would say stability
Mhm.
is missing. And the reason I say that is because I'm living at home right now and I'm taking care of my sister. And it's the first time I'm managing, like, I think if I were to be in like a studio apartment, it'd be a lot easier, but managing a house and taking care of someone is a lot of work. Um,
Yeah.
so I feel like my brain's going at 200 miles an hour, 24/7.
Yeah, so there's potentially some overwhelm, maybe,
Yeah.
because you have a need for ease and
Mm.
comfort, and a pace that is easeful for you.
Yes.
Thank you.
We've
You want to
also
say
got,
something, Manya?
yeah, I was just saying we got Rita in the chat saying intuition, and then overwhelmed, resonate personally with this.
Okay. Thank you. So notice how we're identifying what's above the ground, which is our feeling. It's an emotion that produces certain sensations in the body. We can recognize our distress, we can recognize our peace through how the body feels. That's above the ground. We don't often connect with what's under the ground, which is the need. And there is a certain settling that happens for us when we connect with that under the surface stuff. Um, Again, it's a way to more mindfully navigate our human experience through empathy. It could be self empathy. I can do this, and I dropped the link for this document in the chat. It's a way for me to ground myself down really without any external help, just connecting with, wow, Shrialika, you're feeling really frustrated right now. What's going on? What need could be alive? You have such a need for acceptance. Is that what's coming up for you? It's a way to settle myself down. Or it can be done in companionship, So the way I checked in with Diane, and I noticed, he was talking and he was expressing, and when I said, is this what's, and he said, yes. There's just this human experience of when our needs are acknowledged, there's a settling that happens for us. And this is such a sweet and such a cheap. I mean, like, it doesn't take much to do this, but it makes such an impact in the world. And our world could use some more empathy right now. So I'm going to do one more slide and then we're going to pause for some discussion. What is really important for us to work through anger today is to understand the difference between stimulus and cause. In nonviolent communication, we understand that the cause of our emotion are always our needs. But we could be stimulated by something someone does. So again, like I said, Krishna's very kind. And earlier I was thinking, when I was preparing for this, and I've done this a few times this year already, this particular presentation. I say, oh, wow, I haven't been angry in a while. This is great. And then Krishna showed me, there's still stuff to work on in the heart. So I take my older son for his appointment with his what is it called? The braces doctor, orthodontic, whatever, orthodontia appointment, something like that. So he's done with his braces. He's got his retainers. And it's like they're just going to check him for 10 seconds and make sure like he's actually wearing his retainers. Like that's all it's going to be about. And 30 minutes we're sitting in the office, okay? And we haven't been seen yet. So I am starting to get furious, Just like, oh my God, these doctors, like, are they the only people that have important things to do in life? You know, all these judgments and all this. So the stimulus for my anger is it had been 30 minutes and we had not been seen by the doctor yet, and nobody had talked to us about what's going on. The cause is always my root need. What could possibly be a need that I have in that situation? Any guesses?
as I don't know if this is close, but I was thinking integrity or honesty because you were told the time and that's different from what you're being given.
Yeah. Yeah, that really lands. Anything else?
How about the shared reality?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Respect. I want to be respected for who I am, my time, the things I juggle in my life. That's another need that really comes up for me. Communication. Um, I understand, stuff happens. We're all humans, but like someone to acknowledge, to be seen, acknowledgement was a need to matter. We all, I mean, stuff happens. Maybe the doctor was running late, but for me to know if somebody came to me and said, you had an appointment 30 minutes ago, we're so sorry we're running late. Oh my God, somebody sees me, I matter. That would make such a big difference. So we have a tendency to say, I'm angry because the doctor was running late. So notice how in my language, I am taking my feelings and I'm blaming them on the doctor. I'm giving my power away. Because if my experience depends on what somebody else does or says, God help me. The world is so far beyond my control that, then I'm just like going to be carried away by the chariot of like anybody does anything. And we seize a way to take our power back, to step into this place where we say, I'm angry because I have such a need for communication. I want to know that I matter, that respect is so important to me. And the stimulus was, it was 30 minutes after our appointment time, and nobody had said a word to us. So I'm going to pause there and request for you to share. This is very vulnerable for me. If you would be willing to share, how's this landing for you? What's going on? Questions, discussion.
I think I feel like I look like a vampire. I'm trying to adjust my lights. Um, I think that the older that I have become, the less emotional I am at a stage. But I think it's just through experience more than anything. And I gotta tell you, I'm an awful person. Sometimes I troll people who get really emotional or really, like anger is it's something that you can talk about or think for your, like, why am I here? What is happening? Right. So I'll give you an example. My younger brother, in my most trolly voice, I would say he cannot organize himself out of the paper bag. Um, which becomes important because my mother is going through some cancer treatment. So, but I realize that I probably have that feeling because um, uh, you know, I have to have control. Like he works in a level of control that is different than I have. So like it's becoming more obvious to me as I'm growing older, but it has not always been that way.
Yeah, so it gives you some sense of power or some sense of stability
Right.
if you know, and it just seems like you sense that you don't have control when there isn't this kind of organization
Exactly.
that you would like.
Yes.
This right here is empathy. This is how to do it. Feelings, needs, connect, go deep, and just like people need to be held. And if we could just hold each other, we're making a grassroots difference in this world. Thank you, Priya. Anybody else have anything to share so far from what we've been playing with?
I just want to read what Dana said in the chat. She said, I completely resonate with this and the idea of giving the power away and how to take it back. Ha.
Mm. Thank you. So let's keep working with anger. We are going to move into a breakout, but first I'm going to demonstrate it. So I'm going to request Ayan to be my partner, and you really don't have to do too much. But I'm just going to demonstrate. Let's say Ayan and I are in a breakout room together, because it's going to be 2 people in a room, if that's possible, given the number of people we are. And maybe some room will have 3. So it's going to be you and a partner, and there are 8 steps to walk through. This is to engage ourselves with the material, because learning, in my opinion, happens better in that way rather than me lecturing you. So, first step, think of a recent time when you became angry. Describe the situation to your partner. So, Ayan, you willing to play along with me? Thank you.
Yes.
So, everybody will have 5 minutes. So, 5 minutes and 5 minutes. Track your time. So, you have 5 minutes to walk through 8 steps. So, Ayan, this happened this afternoon. I took Gopinath for his appointment, like final appointment after his braces are out. And our appointment was at 3. It was 3:30, and we had still not been seen. Nobody had said anything to us. Step 2, identify the stimulus for your anger. What the other person said or did, or what the situation was. So it's more, Ayan, like what they didn't say or what they didn't do. Is the fact that like no one bothered to say a word to us. No one acknowledged our presence except like we checked in. So the stimulus for my anger was just like not being acknowledged, not being informed. 3, recognize any thoughts or judgments that are causing your anger. Oh, I had a lot. So one was these doctors, like every time I go to a doctor's office, they're always running late. They book 5 appointments for every 10 minutes because they are so greedy. They just want to make money, so they schedule 5 patients and then all 5 are waiting. And like, what is the point of taking him for a retainer appointment anyway? I know his braces are doing fine. This is just a money-making enterprise. This capitalist economy, the medical system drives me nuts. Okay, so these were all the thoughts and judgments, because behind anger, NVC explains, there's some thoughts and judgments. 4, what needs of yours are not being met? Identify the root need. To matter, Ayan, I really want to know that I matter. I want communication. I want respect. Integrity and honesty is really important to me. And number 5, when you focus on those needs, do any other feelings come up? And, your partner can help you with all of this. Ayan, when I say this is what is important to me, honestly, I just like kind of settle. I'm already feeling peace. Like just thinking, wow, like respect, communication, honesty, integrity, to matter. I don't know. I start feeling some more peace. I start feeling some joy, some grounding. That's personally what's going on for me. You may not have this experience, but I'm just sharing this. 6, identify the thoughts or feelings the other person is expressing and the actions or words that were a stimulus for your anger. So I don't know, to be honest, Ayan, but I'm thinking the doctor also has a need for ease and efficiency. I mean, I can imagine that like all of us, they have a need for financial stability, that, yeah, they schedule patients because they need safety and they need to provide for their family too. So I'm sure all of that is up for the doctor too. Care. I mean, I think the doctor cares. about his patients. I don't think he would last this long and be a doctor if he actually didn't want to contribute to the life of his patients. So we start shifting to connecting with the humanity of the other person. Notice how I went from number 3, the judgments of this capitalist medical system, to when I've done some empathy work for myself, I can see the other person as a human being, not just as a demon. Number 7, focus your attention on your needs and the needs of the other person. So this is kind of similar. And how are you feeling in this moment? Yeah, I feel some relaxation. Um, I can see how, we're both human beings just trying to do the best we can. He's probably also, I mean, I can imagine that he's also caught in the system. The system probably doesn't work for him very well either. I don't know, but I can't imagine that it would work very well for him either. The medical insurance system and so forth. And finally, number 8, what needs of yours were you meeting by choosing to be angry? So the premise behind nonviolent communication is everything is a choice. To be angry was also a choice. I think I was trying to matter because I kind of like gave an attitude when the nurse called Gopinath finally. She's like, well, this is the final appointment. Unless you guys ever want to see us again. I'm like, no. So I think by being angry, I was trying to get my need to matter met. I was like, you could see the fumes coming out of my ears. And it was just my attempt to like step into my power. Actually, I think I was trying to gain some power in the situation by using an emotion of anger to make some change. All right. Any questions regarding what you're being asked to do before we go into our breakouts? Thank you, Ayan. All right, let's go into our breakout rooms. Please play with this, and I might step into a room or two and kind of assist if needed. And you have the instructions in the chat.
Oh, the rooms will close in like 50 seconds, 40 seconds. So maybe we'll see people hop in a bit.
Welcome back. I trust that this was meaningful for you. And I'm noticing the time. I would like to ideally do a little harvest, but I'm going to skip that and just go to the final part of what I wanted to share, which is receiving the intensity of others. So far we were talking about our own anger, but what if anger is directed towards us? Have you encountered that in your life? Never. Well, I don't know what you're talking about, but I have no angry people in my life. Marshall Rosenberg, the founder of nonviolent communication, teaches us that there are only two things we hear when we enter the consciousness of NVC. All we hear is please and thank you. Please meet my need. That's what they're trying to say. And the more the intensity with which they're coming at us, the more depth of pain they're in for their need to be met. Their strategy may be terrible, or it may be pretty violent, but underneath that, it's an appeal because a need is not met. And, or the only other thing people say to us is thank you. So when we have this superpower of NVC, everything gets translated into a please and a thank you. Thank you for meeting my need. I'm feeling so much ease because my need is being met. Or let's say someone's screaming at us, they're just requesting for their need to be met. And I'm going to pause there and turn it over to Manya.
Thank you, Shiralika. This was wonderful. No, we're off time, but if we maybe have a little few minutes, if anyone wants to share any reflections or if you have any questions that come up, we can take some time for that.
Or a takeaway.
Or a
Something that
takeaway,
you're
a reflection.
I do have a question on how do you diffuse? How do you get to someone else's need? Right? I mean, I can see it very clearly, but if I ask, it just angers them more. So how do I get to that place?
Yeah. So maybe in a future session, we can do some empathy practice. And we're given 3 tools for empathic presence. One is nonverbal. So you mentioned that sometimes people actually like, are you feeling angry because you have such a need for respect? They're like, get off me, stop being my therapist. So sometimes it actually triggers people when we use words. So nonverbal empathy is one tool that NVC gives us through our body language, through just the orientation of our heart, through just doing self-connection internally. There's a different energy and presence we bring into that interaction without saying a word. The other tool that NVC gives us is empathy. And NVC gives us a lot of creative language. So actually, we don't use the word feel and need. It's only used within practice settings like this. Because when you start using the word feel or the word need, people get triggered and drives them up the wall. People don't want to know, I don't have any needs. No, I don't need anything. There's just some defensiveness, some armor around being needy human beings that are so broken, which is what I think we all are, these broken human beings that just want their needs to be met, but it's very hard for us to admit it because that vulnerability has not been honored and held with care. And so we use some creative language, and we get rid of all the jargon that we actually learn during our practice sessions, such as this, to do that number 2, which is empathic presence. And finally, number 3 is empathic resonance or response, which is saying something about my own experience while still keeping the focus on their needs. So it's not like I'm going to my story and now I've taken the mic and like the focus is now on me and I need empathy. All of a sudden they need to take care of me. We're still keeping their needs on the table, but we're starting to resonate like a tuning fork. Yeah, I can imagine that it must be so irritating to have to like move your meetings. I can only imagine if I had to like, move my work meetings another half an hour because the doctor had not shown, I would feel pretty irritated. So starting to somehow enter into the other person's shoes. So that's called empathic response or resonance. So those are 3 practice tools, Priya, in response to your question. And sometime in the future, maybe we can practice together.
Thank you.
Something that stood out to me was a quote that you said was that blame is a way to discharge pain and comfort. I was thinking about that and noticing patterns when I've tried to blame something just to make myself feel better. But I was thinking that the feel better part can come from recognizing my needs and not focusing on the other person's. Like I can think of it in that way, but first recognizing mine and then getting to their needs was a better pathway. I don't know if that's the right way to do it, but I was just thinking about that.
Thank you. Yeah, there's something about growing our capacity to hold and nurture our pain and our emotions rather than turning them out and either blaming or expecting the world to do something to take care of me. Yeah.
All right, any last comments? All right. If not, I just want to thank you, Shri, for being in our space, and you have so much enthusiasm for nonviolent communication and just how much it can help. I just really love it. And I was thinking that the reason I felt fascinated is because we were never taught this, like, this type of dealing with your emotions, and it's just undoing a lot of doing that we did, and we didn't even know what we were doing. So I think this just really helps. And yeah, so thank you for being in our space, and thank you everyone for joining us today. If you are in town, we do have a Kirtan Soul Fest coming up this Saturday. Um, so that would be really fun to try. And on Sunday, we have a Ayurvedic cooking workshop. It's more like learning about Ayurvedic cooking than just actually cooking. But if you're interested, um, that'd be really fun.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you for allowing me to be part of your community. I feel so nourished to be amongst all of you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.